Full time at Old Trafford. It is Manchester United 0.
Good win for
Wolves
Wolves.
1. This is, by the way, you're absolutely right. Fair play to Vita Pereira and Wolves. Wolves, they've won 5 games in a row in the Premier League. They're up to 15th in the table.
They beat all their rivals.
Spurs are 16th in the Premier League table.
Yeah, we don't worry about that.
Manchester United, they're 14th. They're now level on points with Wolves. Man United 0, Wolves 1. Man United still not on to 40 points. With Man United, it gets to a point now where this almost isn't a surprise anymore, is it?
It's
Man United
surprise,
get beat.
no,
But
but
from
it's
a Wolves
disgraceful.
point of view, it was a special free kick, wasn't it, for Wolves to give them the 3 points?
Yeah, that type of finish. Again, talk about players that are just going to take the game by the scruff of the neck. It's dripping in quality. It just goes over the wall. It's breathtaking in the way that it's in it. So,
right, last season with Man United, with Tenhag, people said it's going to, the FA Cup winners, papering over the cracks. If he wins the Europa League and they come 14th and they've been no signs of improvement, there's been a drop-off, is there a way you could see Ruben Amorim not being the Man United manager next season?
Well, probably not, but that's down to the way Jim Radcliffe would see it and through his eyes, because he backs him and he's actually quite confident in Amorim and that he's going to take them back to the promised land. But
do you think he will?
I mean, I still think there's real naivety about him a little bit. As I said, there's comments in the week, about playing the kids. You've got to grasp that winning the Europa League is not. It's happened before. It's happened before for United in the last couple of years. That's not enough. They're not wanting that. They're wanting to get back to much heavier heights.
Winning
than
Premier League, right?
Winning
that's
Premier
the
League.
goal,
Yeah,
isn't
but
it?
they need the financial benefit that will come with.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's a necessity.
Yeah,
it's absolutely important. But they're sitting 14th now. If you lot win tomorrow against Forest, then they'll drop down to 15th. And then all of a sudden, you're literally 2 points away from 17th. United.
It's crazy,
2
isn't it?
points off 17th. Why are we not talking about this more?
No,
honestly?
but that's the point I mean. They've been so bad this season. This almost now, you're right, they're 2 points off 17th, but it almost kind of feels like it's just the norm now.
Yeah.
The Man United, I can't remember them being any higher than 14th this season or 13th this
That's
season.
what happens if you let the standards just drip though and drip over time, isn't it?
Do you think Amorim's time in charge of Manchester United will be viewed as a positive if he wins the Europa League but finishes 16th or 17th?
I don't think positive, but I still think, it sounds crazy to say this given how bad they've been this season, I still just think that he almost deserves more time to bring in his right players and to bring in players that suit his system. And I've said that for the last few months, then I keep seeing them lose every single week in the Premier League, and I keep seeing no real signs of any sort of progress on the pitch. But I just think with that football club, it's been 12 years of ultimate failure from top down to bottom. Whatever manager comes in, it fails. Whatever players come in, they fail. It's been a graveyard for players and managers for more than a decade now, and I just don't know if I see a point of sacking another manager and going through the whole process again. He's a young manager. They bought him in mid-season. It was never ever going to be easy. So my gut tells me, Quaco, that whatever happens in the Europa League, if they win it, obviously it's amazing for them, but I still just think that he deserves time. And yeah, I know we keep saying more money, but of course he's going to need more money. And you've got to hope now, Abby, from their point of view, that for the first time in 12 years, they can get their recruitment right. Because if I put a list of players in front of you that Man United have bought in post-Alex Ferguson, I think of one, Bruno Fernandes, who's been decent. The rest, bang average, woeful, rubbish, awful.
I'm not saying it couldn't have been better under Amorim so far.
Of course, I'm not saying it could have been better.
The notion of sacking him is just absurd. He didn't even want to come in and start until the summer. The season was right off before he got there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they've been really poor, but their squad is pretty poor.
Yeah.
So
Not this poor.
No, they obviously should be higher than 14th,
of course they should be, the same way that Tottenham should be, the same way that West Ham should be.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's just this is what the season is. They're still in that. They're still in the Europa League. That's what they've got to play for. And then give them the pre-season. There's a lot of dead wood they need to get out of Manchester United. Yeah, they need more money to bring it in. That's why everything has to be on the Europa League, because they need the money. We all know that they're of their financial situation.
Who needs to win Europa League more, Spurs or Man United?
From a rebuild perspective, United probably do. From a desperation point of view, Spurs do. And also Spurs haven't got one world-class player anymore. They don't.
Yeah.
Man United don't either.
No, but you can argue they've got something to
World class.
build.
It's good. It's not world class though.
They've got something to build around,
It's not world class. I mean, sorry. Let's be serious.
Okay, it's not world class.
I mean, like if we look at world class players today, Mo Salah's world class. He's not in the same category. No, sure.
He's not world class, but there is a player to build around. If you go and look at Spurs' squad, you have a look and you say, okay, there's potential there, and a Bergvall.
I think Spurs, though, on paper, when everyone's fit, I actually think I'd have more Spurs players in my team than Man United.
Yeah, quite possibly, but there's...
Like, I like Udogie, the left-back. I think he's a good lad. I think Van der Ven's really good. Bergvall showed how good he is. Kulusevski's top job. Oh, yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong, but...
Spurs need it, and need it more so for players, because they've got also they've got a young squad. They need the experience, and they're not going to break the bank to get the experience. They're just
also, you think with Spurs, from a mentality point of view, to get over the line and just to shrug off, we haven't won a trophy since, 09? Whatever it is. You need that, don't you? But yeah, it's such a mess, isn't it, for Manchester United and Ruben Amorim? I mean, is there anyone in this room that doesn't think he should be there next season?
No, I couldn't turn around to him, could I, and say, you can't go off on a pro, you can't
Chelsea,
short term. He would, in a different guise, he would.
100.
That's already by now, I'm guessing, right?
That's the thing. That's why you have to appreciate the football club. You have to appreciate the fan base. You have to appreciate so many things. We're talking about this. If it was Chelsea, I'd say he has to go. He wouldn't even be here still. Like even if we were in the Europa League semi-final or final. But at Manchester United, they showed the propensity to give managers time. They're like. Tenhag was struggling.
Probably got 3 months longer than we thought he was going to get.
I think the argument
they should have let him go.
They should have. I agree with you.
But I think the argument with Amorim is that if it was 3 or 4 years ago, he would be gone, wouldn't he? Because he couldn't finish 16th or 17th.
But ultimately, it's been the failure.
It's just the rot
has just become the norm now at Man United.
That's the
standard. The fact they are so low, and it almost doesn't feel like it's a story anymore, right?
No, look at Dyche at the start of the season. He turns around and says, Everton, we're fighting relegation with a relegation scrap. Well, actually, the points last year, they weren't in a relegation scrap. They got a 10-point deduction, but where did they finish last year? 14, 15?
Yeah, they were nowhere near
relegation.
Yeah.
And given that we talk about the bottom three being so poor now compared to anyone else in the Premier League because of the financial imbalance, they weren't in that conversation. So why is he framing the season from the offset, going, we're in a relegation battle? Well, they weren't. So this year, when David Moyes has come in, he's changed that. He's flipped it on its head.
Yeah, positive messaging.
You can't have the standards on the floor and expect anything more.
Yeah, it's another defeat for Manchester United. Pablo Sarabia with the wonderful finish. I mean, but there's not enough money in the world, Abby, is there, to sort out this Man United mess for next season?
Well, not in time for next season. It's gonna be again a project, and you can't keep sacking managers. Can't keep doing what they did with even like the Dan Ashworth situation. Can't do it. Like they have to. They committed now to Ruben Amorim. They took him out of his job. He didn't want to leave at that point. He's here. You've got to back him, and you've got to give him the time. With this United model that is now they had a very long period of time with the same manager, and that is what that club is as well. They've got to give him time to do it, and you've got to also buy players that are going to help him.
I do love it when Quakey's got a smirk on his face because something about left field is coming.
Like Manchester United are of course a huge football club, one of the biggest football clubs in the country. Maybe
second biggest, right?
They're the biggest.
Well, actually, no. I'll go second biggest.
There we go.
In the country. But, and this is actually to my point, maybe they just had an outlier of a manager. Because when Sir Alex Ferguson first came in, Liverpool were on 18 league titles, and Manchester United were on 6. Alex Ferguson came in and gave them 13. Incredible. But Liverpool have got vastly more European Cups. Liverpool had way more league titles before Fergie came in. Maybe it's a case of they just hit the jackpot with arguably the greatest manager of all time, and this is just... Maybe they shouldn't be 14th or 15th in the Premier League table, but the Manchester United that we all expect them to return back to, maybe that never happens again. Liverpool has shown us consistently over the last 40, 50 years that they are one of the biggest clubs in the world, winning consistently in Europe and winning domestically as well. Manchester United, apart from the era that Alex Ferguson was there, we've not seen sustained success in a dominant period. And I don't know, maybe you don't see Man United return to their former glories because
maybe that's the same for Chelsea.
Maybe that's the same for Chelsea as well. It probably is the same for Chelsea because Chelsea's launch into the stratosphere, it came under one owner who was ruthless and just wanted to win by all means. And maybe Chelsea don't ever return to that, but maybe Manchester United, who we see as this behemoth, don't get back to the Real Madrid, Bayern Munich levels where they're unassailable. I don't know if they're in that class anymore. It does feel
extraordinary, doesn't it, when you listen to Jim Radcliffe's comments about how it's been run over the last 20 years and how much money they're spending on innocuous things and a body language coach they were paying 200 grand for. That they've managed to achieve so much. over that period of time, and yet it's been run in that way. I find that remarkable. In any other business, it just wouldn't happen. You get away with it for 1 or 2 years, and then all of a sudden you start to see the cracks showing.
Fergie held it together.
together with sellotape on it.
And that's again, credit to Man United fans. This is the problem I had with Chelsea fans. United fans will still had the green and the gold when they were winning league titles and Champions Leagues. They were still protesting the Glazers because they saw what was going on. Fergie was just holding that together. Whereas these Chelsea fans are protesting after losing a few games in the Premier League, I don't think it holds the same weight.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.